Nepal's 10-year civil war attracted thousands of young boys and girls away from their villages and into the jungles to fight, cook and spy for the rebel Maoists. Many children were performers in cultural groups which spread propaganda in remote villages. With the official end of the war in late 2006 came promises to immediately discharge all child soldiers, but 2 years on, little has been done. The Maoists, who now head the government after elections this year, registered 30,000 fighters, and the UN decided that around 3,000 of those were under the age of 18. But Suman Khadka, a child rights advocate for Save the Children in Nepal, says the 3,000 who currently live in the UN camps or cantonments are just the tip of the iceberg.
There were so many children outside the cantonment, informally, who never even came to the cantonment. And now we actually realize the ones who are in the community are much more vulnerable, and they actually need equally support, sometimes if not more.
Experts say it's impossible to put an exact number on how many child soldiers there are in Nepal, but Ms. Khadka estimates that less than a third of young fighters are in Maoist camps.
We're saying 15,000, including also actually those children in the cantonment. But actually that at least means like around 10 to 12,000 are actually outside in the community.
Ian Martin is the chief of the UN mission in Nepal, which has assisted with the peace process. He and others in the UN have pushed for the immediate discharge of child soldiers, as called for in the peace deal. But Mr. Martin says reintegration has been delayed by concerns from the former rebels that child soldiers they trained could be re-recruited by other smaller armed groups who continue to fight for various causes.
That's a concern, in fact, which the Maoist leadership expresses to us as one of the reasons why they don't want those who are still in the cantonments to be discharged unless and until arrangements have been made to reintegrate them effectively. They specifically express a concern in that context that they might join other armed groups, and they are people who, even if they came very late into the cantonments, have had some degree of physical and even military training there.
UNICEF and other children's organisations have started working with child soldiers, both inside and outside the camps, to facilitate their return home. But that's not always an easy process. Robert Koenig is the producer of a soon-to-be-released documentary called Returned, Child Soldiers of Nepal's Maoist Army.
The child soldier in Nepal is not what you think of as child soldiers in, say, Africa or other places around the world where there is this forced recruitment, where in Nepal there seems to be more of an indoctrination program, and the indoctrination starts very early. They'll have these cultural programs that go around the schools, and for the most part, most of the Maoist kids that we met were really into the idea of being a Maoist.
Many young fighters joined the Maoist army to escape Nepal's entrenched caste system, gender discrimination and poverty. Those who try to return to their villages often find those issues are largely unchanged. The documentary makers found many young boys who left the Maoists ended up migrating to India or the Middle East to work, while girls, considered impure under the strict Hindu culture for leaving the village, are often forced to get married. For some young Maoist fighters, their actions during the war mean they aren't welcome back home, as Robert Koenig explains.
You have, 15-year-olds who were running villages at gunpoint, and some of them were extorting money from people. There are kidnappings, there's vigilante justice involved. So there are a lot of issues with these kids going back home again.
Suman Khadka from Save the Children says it could take 2 years or more to reintegrate Nepal's child soldiers, and says the issue deserves more attention, both in Nepal and the world.
Maybe in the middle they thought, if we focus too much on this, it's going to disrupt the peace process. The other political parties don't really give so much attention to it, neither do the the general overall civil society of Nepal, nor even the international community. So relatively, I feel not enough has been done.